On today's episode of Trucking Sustainably, we hear from the Volvo Trucks Environment and Innovation Director to better understand the advantages of different decarbonized powertrains. And we check in with the Chief Technology Officer at Cellcentric to get a rundown on what it takes to develop hydrogen fuel cell systems for heavy-duty trucks. Sustainability might sound like a buzzword to some, but for trucking fleets across the planet, the future of their business depends on decarbonized transportation. Here in the US, we're now seeing legislation announced with some regularity to help push trucking in a more sustainable direction, like California's Advanced Clean Fleets rule that bans combustion truck sales in the state starting in 2036. Decarbonizing fleet operations can come with a host of huge benefits, with the potential of maximizing uptime, maximizing ROI, increasing efficiency, and less money spent on fuel. The kicker is that fleets have to do it right, with every individual application demanding trucks with different sets of skills. To help wrap our heads around what decarbonization really means for trucking, let's go down to the studio and have a chat with the Environment and Innovation Director at Volvo Trucks, Lars Märtensson. The company is taking a three-pillar approach to decarbonizing the industry, recognizing that there is no one-size-fits-all solution. Let's hear what he has to say. Lars, thank you so much for your time here with us today. I wanted to start with Volvo Trucks' three-pillar approach to decarbonization. Can you kind of give us a little bit of a rundown as far as what that means to Volvo Trucks?
Yes, of course. I think it's important to recognize that we believe that with all the different types of transports that we have globally, with all the different limitations we have in terms of infrastructure and the access to energy, we believe that there is not one solution. We believe that it's important to continue to work with the combustion engine, with the diesel engine, and make sure it will be adapted also for the future needs. But maybe even more important, it's important to grow the new alternatives. I'm especially thinking about, let's say, the battery electric and also the fuel cell electric. These are two alternative technologies that will grow quite a lot going forward. We believe that these three different technologies will complement each other. So it's not either or. They will have different needs for different types of applications, and they will need different type of energy, and they will need different type of infrastructure. So they will be important, all of them.
Very interesting. And why do you think that it's important that we kind of really diversify? I mean, I know you mentioned battery electric and hydrogen fuel cells. You're even working on decarbonizing diesel in some ways. Why do we need to diversify? Why can't we just kind of put all our eggs into, perhaps the electrification basket and really just focus on that?
I would say that as a global manufacturer, we would have loved to have one solution that would solve all the different problems. But when we look at, let's say, the need of different types of applications, if we look at the truck for city distribution or a long-haul truck or a timber truck and different types of trucks, we see that they have different needs in order to secure the range. They have different needs in order to secure the power. And of course, depending also how they drive, they also have different access to the energy they need for their driveline.
Okay, Lars, that makes total sense. I wanted to start with your battery electric offerings. You've had a few years now where you've offered your battery electric trucks globally. What has been some of the biggest challenges that you've seen fleets face in trying to adopt these trucks, and how are you helping them to address those?
I think it's important to bear in mind that this is an industry which is quite conservative. When companies go into testing new technology, they want to make sure that the new technology is reliable because their livelihood depend on that the new technology is, of course, working. So the reliability is, of course, the most important point. The other point is obviously range and charging, because unlike regular diesel trucks, you need to maybe think a little bit different when it comes to electric trucks, or as many of our customers have experienced, it is not a major difference. Because normally, especially when we speak about local and regional transport, the charging will take place during night, meaning that you charge during the night and then you have enough energy for all the work that you want to do during the day. So it's not very big difference compared with what they're used to.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I wanted to go a little bit deeper into something that you mentioned there, reliability. How has Volvo Trucks been able to kind of evolve your product to ensure reliability for your customers?
I would say that maybe the unique thing, or maybe a little bit, maybe not unique, but maybe a unique approach that we have had in this context is that we, with the early trucks, have been very active in, let's say, the dialogue with the customers and follow up with the customers. We really want to make sure that we get early feedback and that we really understand, let's say, all the issues that arise, and not only with some few trucks, with a big number of trucks, all the trucks in all markets that were put there. And we have also put aside dedicated resources in order to do so, to really to understand if something is happening that we were not expecting, and understand what works and don't work.
Got it. I want to move on to hydrogen fuel cell trucks. Just recently, you shared news that you had completed some testing in the frigid cold temperatures of northern Sweden. Can you explain to us, why is this kind of testing important for hydrogen fuel cells, and what did you learn from the experience?
To start, we normally do tests both in hot climate and also very cold climate. And for the obvious reason that we sell trucks to all over the world, and we need to make sure that they work in all the different conditions. Then, of course, when it comes to new technology, and especially technology that emits only water vapor, it is, at least for me personally, it was quite interesting to see what will happen with the water vapor in a very, very cold climate. So the test was really about driving on regular roads, driving in normal operations, meaning both including filling, and also make sure that both the hardware, the software, and everything was working fine. And so far it has worked very well. And we're now looking forward to do similar tests, but then do the tests in a hot climate.
Oh, interesting. And what did happen to the water vapor? Are you able to share?
You can see it on the films that we have published. You can see that it goes into the air, and we didn't experience any major problems with, let's say, icing or something like that.
Excellent. Okay, so can you, moving on to a new topic here, H2 ICE powertrains. Can you help us kind of understand, what is this powertrain, how does it work, and what would be the potential benefit of switching to this kind of powertrain?
So, as we went into earlier, that there are two opportunities, of course, when it comes to hydrogen. One is the fuel cells, and another one is to use the hydrogen in a combustion engine. There are many benefits of using a combustion engine. The obvious one is that it's very similar to what our customers are using today. So it means that they will experience similar torque and similar reliability and so forth. And that will be something very positive. And there are a couple of different alternatives we could use when it comes to combustion engine for hydrogen. One that we are looking into now as an opportunity is to use it in a regular diesel process, meaning that it's a compressed ignited engine. We inject the hydrogen, and then we ignite the hydrogen with a very small amount of diesel. By doing so, we use a diesel process, we get the performance, we get the efficiency, and so forth that our customers will be used to. So there are plenty of benefits of using that type of combustion engine.
Very interesting. Would this be potentially, would it be possibly easier for a fleet to maybe transition to an H2 ICE powertrain over something like a total hydrogen fuel cell?
I think to some degree, yes. But I think that just like we were into earlier, that this type of technology will be a complement to the other solutions. So it could be in certain types of operations where maybe a combustion engine will be more suitable than a fuel cell. And then in the end, it all boils down to, in all the different alternatives here, of course, the business case, because there will be different costs to different solutions as well.
Okay. So as part of Volvo Trucks' kind of third decarbonization pillar, can you help us understand what are some of the drop-in fossil-free fuels that are available to fleets?
There are many alternatives when it comes to biofuels, and the challenge with biofuels is, like you into there with the drop-in, is that they are limited raw material which can be used for producing this type of biofuels. And therefore, in many cases, the best way of using these biofuels is to use them as a drop-in. That is what you can do, for example, with liquid biofuels like biodiesel or renewable diesel as HVO. You use them as a blend into the regular diesel. And by doing so, you get the same environmental benefits. You can use the same infrastructure. And also, if you are following the normal fuel standards, then you can also use the regular diesel engines. So the diesel engine is an amazing engine that can use quite a lot of different biofuels in a rather easy way, as long as you are within the fuel standards.
Oh, interesting. Is there any sort of component switch that you need to make if you are interested in using one of these new fuels?
When it comes to biodiesel is a little bit different compared with regular diesel. So there it's important that you have quite low percentages when it comes to the biofuel then. But if we speak about renewable diesel as HVO, then you don't really have those problems. So then you can use it as blend, or you can use it as pure without doing any engine modification. So for some of these biofuels, it's quite easy, and with others, you need to think a little bit and maybe preferably use them as a drop-in.
When it comes to the infrastructure needs or maybe the investment needs for battery electric trucks, what can a fleet expect?
I would say that if we look at the markets and the customers who have been successful, that they are the ones with, let's say, an infrastructure that is already in place or where they have good investment support. So I would say it's quite clear that in order to get a business case together, and you need to have some support, especially now initially when the trucks are more expensive. So investment support is very, very important. We're lucky that we have that in many places. But then after you have the truck, you of course need to charge it. So it is of course crucial that the infrastructure is growing here. You start maybe to charge at home at the depot, but after that you need to have an infrastructure that you can rely on. So the infrastructure, supporting the investment are two crucial issues in order to be successful here.
Got it. Well, Lars, thank you so much for your time here today. This is a really great overview, and I'm really looking forward to taking a deeper dive down the road.
Yep, thank you for having me. Thank you.
Okay, lots of great stuff from Lars there. Next up, we have an interview with Nicholas Loughlan. He is the Chief Technology Officer at Cellcentric. Nicholas, thank you so much for joining us here today. Can you give us a little just brief interview about Cellcentric, and then tell us why is it so important that you are developing hydrogen fuel cells, especially in terms for the North American market?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, David. Yeah, Cellcentric as a company, we're a joint venture. So we have basically two parent companies, one being the Volvo Group and the other one being Daimler Truck. And what we've been targeted with is to develop and later on to series produce, this is what you see right next to me, fuel cell systems directly targeting the heavy-duty truck application, where of course both of our shareholders have a core interest in. With regards to North America, of course, all over the globe, we are trying to decarbonize society more and more, and transportation sector is one of the key, let's say, industries that will, of course, contribute to that. And while we're already on our way in the industry to decarbonizing trucking on the battery electric view, for especially everything that is like quite heavy and going for very long range, fuel cell electric truck technology will be the key application to decarbonize heavy duty transport.
Got it. So heavy duty, kind of the best use case for this kind of technology. Are there any other sort of applications that you have your eye on for this?
Yeah, sure. I mean, basically every application that will rely on having a fuel that has a lot more energy density than with a battery in it. Everything that can go onto an off-highway application, be it stationary or maybe even other construction equipment items and stuff like that is certainly within the application range that we're looking at. The main key, of course, being still heavy-duty trucking. That is where we have our sweet spot because of the TCO focus of our customers in that area. That is especially where this technology can pay off, because if you use hydrogen, there is no better efficient solution to go for than a fuel cell system.
Very cool. So obviously we see one of those systems behind you now. Can you give us kind of a brief little tour, kind of tell us how it works?
Sure. So what you see here is one of our BZA 150s, as we call it. 150, basically outlining the power range that it has, goes up to 150 kilowatt. Two of those basically mirror roughly what we have in store today at our 13-liter diesel engines that are employed by our customers today. So basically using that engine compartment, two of those with a combined power of 300 kilowatts are used to generate the electric energy that the truck requires to do its transportation job. How does the system work? Basically, we're using the known principle of fuel cell, i.e. utilizing hydrogen and oxygen with a catalyst called a membrane, basically where we separate the protons from the electrons. The proton goes through, hydrogen merges with oxygen, creating water. De facto, that's our emission, if you want to say so. And on the other hand, the electrons going around, creating then the electric energy that we use then to propel the electric powertrain or to provide power to the power battery that we have on the truck installed as well. That's basically how it works. We have what we call stacks in the middle of this box right here. You can basically compare that to the core of a combustion engine today. Two stacks we've got in this system, basically that are stacked upon each other, hence the name. And we supply it then with air. We supply it with hydrogen, and we take away the electric energy and to provide that to the truck.
Wow, so cool. Of course, if you are expecting to put this into a heavy-duty truck, they need a lot of range, but it's not just about range. They also are encountering different weather conditions, all kinds of different loads while they're on the road. How do you expect the hydrogen fuel cell system to be able to stand up to all these different variables for heavy-duty trucking?
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of our core design points. Our mission is to provide a trucking experience to our customers that basically is equivalent to what they today experience with diesel, be it then range, be it efficiency, but of course also when it comes to encountering every transportation job we have at hand. And that does not mean it's only going to be at a nice ambient temperature and undemanding situations, but of course from being extremely hot to extremely cold, this thing will do the job. And with the Volvo colleagues in winter testing, we've just had this running, this exact systems in the winter test, so minus 20 degrees Celsius in full operation with the fully loaded European trailer setup. That worked pretty well from what I hear, but the Volvo guys will be the judge on that finally, of course.
Excellent. What do you expect the life cycle for one of these systems to be? Would that be pretty equivalent to diesel as well?
Yes, that's the design point. Our design point is 25,000 hours, basically being the equivalent of having a 1.2 million kilometer or 1.2 million mile, so full life cycle of a truck as of today. And that's why we're going through quite extensive testing also. So we're not done yet releasing this into large serious introductions right now. There's still some more things we want to do because we don't only want to have a technology introduction, but as we spoke about, really have in the commercial vehicle industry, we know what our job is, right? It needs to be durable, it needs to be reliable, and this is not going to be a quick fire shot. It's something going to be working sustainably and well.
Now, here in North America, we hear a lot about hydrogen trucking, but we don't see it a whole lot. I think part of that is due to the lack of infrastructure. There's just not a lot of ways to, fill up a hydrogen fuel tank here. With that being said, 5-10 years down the road, where do you see that kind of progressing in North America?
Oh, great point, David. That's actually one of the key challenges we have as an industry. if society wants to decarbonize, of course, we're going to look at having regeneratively produced energy out of solar, wind, and water power. What we're now looking at is how that can be then, of course, stored over longer periods of time and in huge quantities in order to be able to transport it and in order to be able to store it. And actually, North America, especially the US, has done, in our personal opinion, a great initiative with the Inflation Reduction Act, specifically targeting, of course, the production at scale of green hydrogen or of hydrogen per se. And that will be part of the demand and the supply challenge that we have, in tune, of course, with the technology that's now evolving. So at the end, you'll have a product and you'll have cheap hydrogen available at scale. Well, that should be ready for in time when we expect our products to be needed in the market, especially with legislative items that are coming up, zero emission vehicle mandates, et cetera, et cetera. This will be key to attack, especially the bigger Class 8 C+ segment. This is tailor-made for it.
Got it. You mentioned green hydrogen there. Can you tell us what is the definition of green hydrogen as opposed to, other colors?
Yeah, I mean, at the end, our system doesn't really care too much, of course, where the energy sources from. Green hydrogen just means that it's being produced by utilizing green electric energy, i.e. from wind, from solar, or from wind power. Because at the end, you need electric energy. So if you do it the more conventional way, you might have a, let's say, less CO2 neutral departure point in the entire value chain. But at the end, as long as hydrogen is there, then we're good to go.
Sure. Now, of course, trucking is a fantastic application for this type of system. Do you have your eye on any other applications in maybe other industries that you can see this sort of system working well for?
Yeah, as said, basically it's possible to use this system wherever you will struggle to have direct access to electric energy and where you need a lot more energy density. So anything that basically moves a bit away from the grid, or wherever you're looking at having a lot of power over a considerable amount of time that maybe your battery capacity cannot handle, all kinds of stuff like that. And that can, basically, there's no real limit to anything on that. On road, basically everything that's very close to heavy duty is buses, coaches, and things like that, of course.
And we are seeing, here in North America, we are seeing hydrogen in buses in particular doing fairly well here. So that seems to make a lot of sense. Nicholas, thank you so much for taking the time to walk us through this today. I'm really excited to see how this technology evolves down the road here.
Perfect. No worries. And it was great talking to you, David. Take care.
You too. Thank you. Okay, really cool stuff from Nicholas Loughlan there, talking from Cellcentric about their hydrogen fuel cell system. Cannot wait to see what the future holds for that. And before that, Lars Märtensson talking about Volvo Trucks and their 3-pillar approach to decarbonization. Obviously very important that we diversify there. But where do we go next? How do we keep diving deeper into this topic? Well, that's what we're here to do on Trucking Sustainably. We'll see you next time.